185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
"185 Miles South," a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? We are back and talking hardcore. Helping out, you know him, you love him. He is the best dressed man on the pod. He is Daniel Sant. What's up, dude?
I can't take it no more. I'm bugging out.
Also helping out, it is Anthony Papalardo. What's up, dude?
Chilling, man. I'm 902 miles away.
Yes, that's right. 902 miles east. That is what's up. Okay.
I got scared to say a direction, dude. I just stopped.
Yeah. Pretty due east, maybe slightly northeast, but only very slightly on the north end. Okay, this week on the pod, we are talking compilations, and that is a brutal topic to try to get in, in an hour and a half or so. But we're gonna do our best. Thinking how 185 would normally do it, we'd like talk the, our favorite comps from like 80 to 84 or some shit. But we're going to try to do the whole history of compilations.
Oh, my God. I didn't sign up for this.
Yeah. So, Dan, what's your favorite comp of 78, dude?
It's got to be Blind Lemon, Parker, and Friends.
There you go. Yeah. So anyway, we'll just give our general thoughts. And we got a couple segments to do at the end. But let's jump right into it. Dan, what is your opinion on compilations?
My opinion is it could go either way. Sometimes they're a real slog to get through, but sometimes if a comp is like just hitting on all cylinders, like it can be like a magical record, and it has always been an amazing way to discover new bands, and for bands in particular, it's also a great way to, if you recorded for an LP but you actually edit and there's a couple songs left over, it's a great place to put one of those songs that may never have seen the light of day. But the real gold standard of comps are the ones that people like knew who else was going to be on the comp and literally like, oh, we're going to put, our best foot forward here and give like a really up and, total like killer song to like steal the comp, because that's what's kind of cool about like those triple B comps in recent times is that everyone kind of knows the deal, so like people are putting out legit great songs on them.
What's your personal experience with comps? Are any important to you?
Yes, the way it is Guilty by Association on Indecision Records, like back then, that was a huge one for me. I also love the Growing Stronger and Time Is Now comps. Like doing the compilations of 7 inches is awesome. We're going to talk about some of the other great ones later on, and I think that is a really great thing like that I've enjoyed like in my time is to do like just there's 5 or 6 bands and it's on a 7-inch, and that's just so sick.
Pops, thoughts on comps in general, and then your personal experience with them.
The comp, like I was putting some notes together, and I kind of feel like the shitty cheap sampler killed the comp for a minute, because those were like the ultimo cash grab. It was almost like the CD format was a little too OD because you could put too many songs on there, and then like I don't know, like bands in the 90s, they'd be on like 27 rando CDs or whatever, and it kind of lost what was important about it. But I think there's almost there's kind of like 2 formulas for a comp, in my opinion. There's a documentation of something, and sometimes it's not even important if, like what sort of like before you could have access to the entire history of music in your pocket, you know, a compilation that just documented a scene or something like that, or a movement or whatever, and just introduces you to everything, like that's really awesome. And you know, you're kind of getting like, you know, you bang for your buck there, and you might find your new favorite band or whatever. It's also, those are kind of cool because it puts everyone in the same playing field, where it's like the band that isn't as accomplished gets to be around like the heavy hitters, and they might get a little more attention than, you know, normal. And then there's sort of like the comps that are made for a specific purpose, where it's like, we're making this comp for to benefit a thing, or you know, like the peace comp or something like that. And some of those just have this vibe like Dan was talking about, where like everyone's trying to put their best song forward, you know. But I was also thinking like the formula to me is like a good comp is diverse, it tells a story, and often it has like maybe a band's best song, you know, or like the overlooked song that is like just such a banger, you know. um and then I guess my experience was like early on just being like a, you know, people have said it a million times, so it'll be a million and one, but it was, comps were like an economical way to learn about things faster, you know. And I really like that discovery element. And even like later in life when I, you know, had more income or whatever, you could be curious about like the no wave scene or something like that, and just get like No New York, and you get your little like primer. And of course, like, it's not going to be a total representation of something, but if you're interested in it, then you start filling in the cracks. I also think I was spoiled because the first few comps I really got were all pretty amazing, and like I think a little later getting like The Way It Is was pretty much like that was that and Boston on LA were like the first two, not consecutively, but like there were just two compilations that I was obsessed with, along with Flex Your Head. And you know, I could easily argue that my musical tastes would have been different if I wasn't so obsessed with those three records, you know, and especially Boston Not LA being a document of like something I had missed that was like 30 miles from my house was really mind blowing.
Yeah, those are all great points. Like a good compilation is like a summary of like a time and a moment, and oftentimes a place, you know, or an idea, you know, and that's how the great ones come together. And you know, this might be like just personal bias, but like the 80s are really the time of the comp. Like I don't know why that happened. If you look at like I'm looking at the list now. So everyone, I made a top 100 list. It's not in order, and it's not like the top 100 best. It's just I was trying to make a list of like comps that kind of told the chronological story of punk and hardcore. So like for instance, like the fucking Epitaph and Fat comps are on there. You know what I mean? I don't think those are the best punk compilations by any means, of course, but like they really do sum up a time period. And I don't know if you can tell the story of punk without it. But it wasn't a thing like initially with like the first wave of punk. Like I only put one record on there. It was a comp called Raw Deal, and like it was kind of like second tier UK bands. Is that fair, Dan?
Yeah, yeah, I think, or at least the ones that hadn't like kind of got international distro or anything, you know.
Right. So like not judging them like musically, just like they're lesser known, and this was like a label sampler, and really I couldn't find much for 77 or 78, like because a lot of the punk bands at that time were on major labels, so they were just on like kind of label samplers with a bunch of different types of bands. Like punk wasn't like just put by itself on a sampler or a comp really yet that much.
Troublemakers is a good example of that, where it's like kind of, you know, Wire, Sex Pistols, and it's all posthumous really, but you know, then it's like Marianne Faithfull, John Cale, Nico.
Right.
But
Yeah.
still, you know, that was like, that was another important one, because that was like another little primer of like stuff that you might have missed, you know, or I
Yeah,
missed or whatever.
and I feel like a lot of those early ones that you're talking about of that time period were simply like trying to get record stores and stuff to buy all of the different artists that your label is putting out, instead of like kind of like what you talked about of things being a snapshot of a time, which inadvertently it is a snapshot of a time, but
Sure,
not
but
like intentional.
yeah, but I was priming to get to the punk stuff because like this stuff is uninteresting to me. Like when it's like a mix. Like what I think is interesting is like when you start getting like the Beach Boulevards and like the Tooth and Nail records in '79. Like this is when like it's the tail end of like the first wave, right? Or it's like that transitional period which we refer to with words, not numbers. You know, and then in Japan you have Tokyo New Wave '79. You like these are like original Japanese punk bands, so like it starts going, and then like once the '80s really start rolling, it just like really goes, right? By like around '82, '83, like some of the best records are compilations. I was very fortunate to grow up in Oxnard, California, which has like a rich punk history, and the scene was documented very well. Like, you know, many cities across the country have punk scenes or had punk scenes, but like there wasn't necessarily documentation of it. But because of like the proximity to Los Angeles and Mystic Records being in LA and the Cafe de Grand being a club right across from Mystic Records, like all these bands kind of got recorded and put out. So in 1984, the Nardcore compilation was released, and it basically had all the bands of the era of the region. So it's like there is kind of like this one-stop shop to go to if you want to learn the history of like hardcore punk in Oxnard, in my hometown, you know, where, you know, if you think about Boston on LA, like there's some, that's a great comp for an area and a time period, but like, dude, SSD's not on it. You know what I mean? Like you're missing one of the big dogs. It's like, it would be like the Nardcore comp and Ill Repute's not on it or something. The other thing is like the Mystic comps, like so many of them are terrible, you know, but like Nardcore is like really good. So my initial experiences with compilations of the old stuff is like very good and also very bad. Like some of those Mystic comps are like mislabeled. There's 40 bands on it, so you can't like even like, oh, I like song number 27, but I can't tell what fucking band it is. You know what I mean? So like, good luck. It's more of a puzzle than a fucking answer key. You know what I'm saying? On the other side of comps, like personal involvement, the first time that I was ever on vinyl was a comp, the Localism compilation. I believe '96. It's Alive Records. My band, It Doesn't Matter, was on it. So like that's a nice little piece of my history, and maybe like it gives me some fondness for compilations. But yeah, I mean, like just looking at like the list in like that run there from like 1980 to like 1984 is just ridiculous. Of it's banger, 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 banger. I don't know. Does anything stand out to you, Dan?
Yeah, I agree. Like my initial introduction to many of the oi bands that I've loved for since the minute I heard them were on many of these oi comps from back in the day, like Carry On Oi, Oi the album, etc. All of that stuff, and that's like, you know, that was being put together by Gary Bushell, like kind of giving shine to all of these working class, like even though it's post punk, but it's the new punk. Do you know what I mean? That was happening in England at the time, and by gathering them all together, I feel like their reach went so much further than if they'd just done records by themselves.
Yeah, for the list, I just put the first one on, although I believe there's 3 or 4. Is that correct?
Yeah.
The other one, Pops, do you want to talk the skate comps, the Thrasher stuff? Because I only put the first one on here, but like you were saying that you think the first 3 are classic.
Yeah, I just the thing about those like being like readily available in the cassette format for so long is like, well, one, it branded a style, and I believe it was like Mofo who had the idea to do it, and then it sparked this whole thing of like, what really is a skate band? Like everyone in the band has to skate, and like, which is pretty funny. And I don't know if it was necessarily an identifiable sound, but I think it was cool to like. I think what those were important was like showing they're almost the opposite. Like they're almost less. There's still plenty of awesome tracks, and they had a continued to put out great stuff. But I think it showed skateboarding as more of a lifestyle, and that like all these people are multifaceted or whatever. And I think that was really important in like shaping skateboarding's identity really early on. So I think, you know, I think all those records are great, and they start to they go with the time, and I think it's hard to compete with like the early run. However, I think the idea that they're just like giving a platform for skateboarding as a lifestyle and a actual subculture was what is the strongest thing is about it. And the graphics, they just always look really cool, or shaped cover, etc. And the sort of the pus head connection as well. Like I think all that stuff's super important, and I'm sure we'll touch on like Pushead as a master compiler as well.
Yeah, well, there was also that later one that had like Integrity or someone on it, right? Like there was like a strange one.
Yeah, there's one. I mean, there's like if you go to, it's either Noise Forest, and I think the other one's called Pawns of the Apocalypse. They have like Uniform Choice, Integrity, Fury. Like they're pretty underdog. Like they had some stuff on there. There was some curveballs, and I think even some of it was like a couple years after those records had come out. Like I don't, I'd have to pull them up, but those were cool because I mean they're not bands that you would necessarily associate in like the early '90s or like '89. You wouldn't think of like UC as skate rock maybe, or Integrity as skate rock, but it's cool. And then you go back and realize like how important skateboarding was to those people. Like Dwid's gone on about it quite a bit, and so I think that's like they had a good track record. It wasn't like those comps were must see TV, and you often got one for free for subscribing to Thrasher. So I mean that was really cool too. Like not only do you get your introduction to skateboarding, but you get a soundtrack sent to you as well. So I think that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, another thing. Well, there's two things I want to say. Like I do think that like hardcore inherently works like in the compilation format. In fact, like that's when it thrives, partially like when it takes off in like 82, with like Flex Your Head and Not So Quiet on the Western Front. And then you start to have like the international comps too, right? Like the propaganda comps out of Finland, the Brazilian comp, the Grito Suburbano. I mean, like I don't know shit about Brazilian hardcore outside of like those three big bands, the Ojo Seco, Inocentes, and Cholera. You know what I mean? And like they're all on that comp from 82. So it's like areas and regions are like putting their stamp on like hardcore by putting out like these regional comps, and Flex Your Head might be like the most notable, right? Do you think?
Yeah, Flex Your Head is because of Discord's commitment to essentially localism, but also being at the zeitgeist of like, I don't know, just something in the water of that time and that time period and that area of just producing some of the best songs that have ever graced this earth, all coming together to be on that compilation. And then you think like, oh, this is there's going to be a cover on it there, and that cover still blows your mind because the original's great, but the cover's even better. I really do enjoy when I think back of like the things that are regional comps, because even like my old band Palpatine was on like, it was a CD comp, but there was a CD of like Southern California, or maybe just all California hardcore at the time, and it was just so rad to like think about like all these bands sound quite different, but they're all, it was the end of the 90s, so there was so much crossover in all of these different sounds. Things hadn't stratified yet, and it was just like, what a great like snapshot of time period of something. I feel like Flex Your Head, or The Way It Is, that is the heavyweight fight though between the two regional comps in my life for me. I mean, there's so many other comps that I do enjoy, but those two going head to head, and you know what? I might even give it to The Way It Is.
I mean, personally, I would definitely give it to The Way It Is. Dan, what's the name of that comp from the late 90s?
It is. Let me just find it. I'm sorry. I'm making.
Well, I was making.
Can we keep talking 90s for a second?
Yeah. Well, I want to just mention real quick. I think that goes to your point, Pops. Like of the CD kind of like making the comp shitty, because like, Dan uses that as an example of something that he likes, but like doesn't remember the name of it, right? Like it's like those CD, those like I like that's what it is though, Dan. Like we have these like thoughts of like a lot of comps in the 90s were like in the late 90s, you know, if you get a CD comp and you like a third of it, you know, you're like, oh, this is pretty sick because it does give you like a guide of bands to like go and discover. That goes to like another thing that Pops was saying earlier about it being like kind of a sampler and like a map for like the stuff you like. But generally, like a CD comp, I can't think of one that like I like half of the songs on it, you know, off the top of my head. What were we going to get into?
You know, my dig about I'll go deeper on the CD comp thing is like there was a period in the starting in the mid 90s where like CD manufacturing, like if you were in a major city, there was probably some weird duplication place that could either like outsource or like make your music on a CD for $2 or whatever. And there was definitely like a lot of rando people that would come up to you at a show and they're just like, oh, my name is like fucking Brian, and I have this label called like Constant Evolution, and I'm doing this comp, and I just give me any song, you know, and like you're like what, like oh, it can just be it can be you know, a release song. It doesn't matter. And like what a lot of those people were doing, at least in the Northeast, were like they would get like a unit commitment from Newberry Comics because when those like samplers popped off, they were such a good way to like get people to like almost buy an add-on or have them like POP at the counter for like $5 or whatever. And people were just like, with kind of no interest, were just putting these comps together, or like then the samplers start coming with a magazine and they would sell spaces to record labels, and like Chord magazine would have a sampler or whatever. And I think those like that's when it was just became like an object, like it just became commerce. It's not that important, contrasted to like the comps that like Kent McClard was putting out, or like Food Not Bombs comp, or you know, stuff that was very the Triple X comp that he put out. Like whether you like it or not, that was a pretty big moment and like almost like a divisive record that, you know, it was smart to say like straight edge is a mindset and I'm putting this thing out with all this literature and none of the bands sound the same. And this is kind of like this is a snapshot of what straight edge is in like 95 or whatever when that came out. So I think, you know, the CD it's almost like a precursor to like playlists, you know, like when they started to feel like just playlists and you can easily skip, it's a lot different than like opening something up, caring about the layout, reading like, ooh, each band gets a page or whatever like that. And again, yeah, I just feel like there was a push towards just commerce that made them feel less cool.
Also, that's a great point, but there's also like the CDs, like the Punk Sucks and the Punk Bites and all those that like, you know, they're selling for full price. But like, I think that because CDs were kind of expensive at times, like they were trying to fill it all the way out, right? So they're gonna put 60 minutes of music on there to like, you know, quote, give people their money's worth, you know what I'm saying? But what comes with that is like you're not curating like an awesome piece of music that like is gonna stand the test of time. Like what you're doing is you're just filling up 60 minutes of music, and like, you know, 75% of it sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Like Punk Sucks. Like that comp really does suck. Like I put it on the list though, because like, so, I mean, maybe I should have planned and talked this through chronologically, like why I chose this stuff. It's not going to happen. Maybe I'll write it for the Substack, but like, you know, including something like Punk Sucks in 1995, like I think it is important because like, you know, if punk blows up in 94 with like the Green Day and Offspring and stuff, and then you have like the, you know, the second tier shit like starting to blow up too. Like, so you have Fat Music for Fat People and Punkorama come out in like 94, 95 ish, you know, and then you have like the third tier stuff, which is like getting all the Punk Sucks and the Punk Bites stuff. Like I wanted to include it to show that like, it's just so big and there's a million bands that like when a real trend hits, it's insane how huge it is. And there were just like thousands of trash bands that popped up and like it's hard to like, I feel bad like calling any band like a trash band because like, you know, you still got to like go practice a little bit, right? Like just getting 4 people together in a room to like jam and be shitty is like hard enough, you know, but like, it's just insane. Like the bulk of like these bands that like happened. And like, just one thing to say on the Triple X comp before like we move on from it, dude, that comp sucked. Like straight up. Like it was, it's, I mean, cause I know you guys are going to like sing the praises of it because like the layout is amazing. Like the the concept of it is amazing, but like for the sake of this pod and our reputation, like I did not put that comp on this list, and like I went and listened to it again, and I was like, God damn, there is not a single good song on here. This comp is fucking trash. You know,
It's for Life is better, I feel.
It's for Life, of course, but they're totally unrelated. I did put like the Ebullition comp from '91 on there. That's like pretty good. That has like, I think Amenity is like the first song on it, right? The Give Me Back comp. That's kind of like the compromise.
I'm not going to sing the praises of Some Ideas Are Poisonous. I think all the ideas were pretty poisonous on the record. However, like everyone bought it. You know what I mean? Like
I have it.
Yeah, like I mean, I didn't buy it because I got given one because my friend's band was on it. But like that was, like it was like a talking point. Like, there was like harsh reviews of it or da da da. Like, it. I think I'm not going to use the word important, but I think it's like indicative of a time where like you could get a bunch of bands together and people had an opinion on a thing, even if they were kind of fringy about it. And a lot of it was because it was called like, this like new straight edge comp, and like, did it live up to like what it was supposed to do? Absolutely not. But like I think, I don't know, like in this world where like I'm just inundated with stuff, the fact that I even know any songs on that comp is kind of cool to me, just because it's like that's what came out in the moment, and so I'm going to pay attention to it and read all the whatever fucking literature or whatever, well, like that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, like before when I was saying that like a great comp like is, a region and a time frame or an idea and a time frame, like that is a comp that like it really does sum up like an idea and a time frame well, right? Like that's like that Heart Attack like era of that one scene and like the people that like bought into that. Like, I mean, it really did sum it up well. You know what I mean?
You kind of, maybe you don't get like the floor punch and everything else, like unless the rubber band is stretched that way, where
that's true.
People, because I remember people just calling it like edge mockery and being like it's the least straight edge comp or whatever, and like I think it does put something out in there where it's like, well, maybe it's cool to like go backwards again, and like that cyclical thing started, and sometimes it's almost like you push the medium of like it happens in art, right? Like where like something becomes so maximalist that like minimalism becomes cool, and like that was almost like the maximalist straight edge comp because it was just like doing way too much.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's almost well, it's like it's a horseshoe theory, right? Like they've gone so far that you can just make a tiny little step across and like you're a weirdo beating it in like an opium den or some shit. Dan, what were we gonna say?
I said it's all cyclical, like jean size, like Jinkos to skinny jeans. But I did I reached out to 185 correspondent Ben Edge to find out what the name of that comp was, because literally my memory is dog shit. And it is As the Sun Sets, a Southern California hardcore compilation. And there's so many great bands on it, but I do know what you mean about like CDs seeming like, kind of throwaway compared to, records. But that's only in hindsight. I think at the time, I think you loved them. But then when Sampler Core came in, obviously it devalued it. The other thing I was going to say is touching on what Pops was just talking about. I used to love when you would get like, well, for example, that XXX comp, right? Or other ones that came out around the time. Like there was ones in memory of Jason, like somebody who passed away in the Pacific Northwest, and it was like all the Pacific Northwest bands. But I loved when you would get a compilation and the person who would put this comp together, instead of just Ryan and I don't know, I can't remember the guy that you just said, that give me any song, but someone who's lovingly had put together these comps. They spent just as much time on a layout and inserts and stuff. I used to love poring over those kind of things, like back in the day, like opening a comp, like original, the way it is, that it has like every band has its page. It's a book. it's like a mini book inside, you know. I would literally just, you know, this is pre-internet, but just spend hours looking at inserts in records, and some of the best comps delivered that the best. And we're going to talk about one soon that just literally comes with the Encyclopedia Britannica inside it, you know. But
dude, I just looked up In My Eyes is on all these comps I've never heard of in my fucking life, including a sampler where we shared the stage with Virgin Whore Complex, Five Fingers of Funk, Three-Legged Torso, and Chicka Chicka. So that was pretty sick.
I can't wait to get, you know, a copy of that off of Discogs. One thing I will say in defense of Punk Bites, Swindle was on Punk Bites.
Yeah,
lodged
cool.
lodged in between 30-foot Fall and Drain Bramaged.
Yeah, there goes my point, right? So 1/3 is decent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah. I did help put out a couple comps. So in the year 2000, Dan, you were on one, Intense Energy. We did like a live comp from like the living room, which is like, that's like, I don't think it's a great comp by any means, but it is like kind of one purpose for a comp. Like we literally captured a single night in a single scene. You know what I mean? Very similar to like the way that those Nemesis Records comps were like right around 1990, you know?
Yeah.
Also, Mandel did that great one, like the Halloween comp of like that one night at the Showcase Theater, and that had great art too.
Devil's Night. Yeah.
California Takeover, bro. Are you forgetting Victory Records?
Yeah, that's a huge one. And maybe I should have put that on here, but I put Victory Style on as much as it hurt my fucking soul. You know?
A sampler.
Yeah. I mean, like, again, it's just like, how do you tell the story of all this with like, and leave out Victory Style? Like everyone had it. And like, you know, you loved a couple things off it and like you hated half of it. You know what I mean? So I don't know how you do it without, but yeah, California Takeover, like that's a huge one. I think I might have drawn the line that like it's got to have more than 3 bands on it, right? Because like that's kind of close to like, I would just call that maybe like a 3-way split.
That's a 3-way split for sure.
Yeah. But again, I mean that is a big thing, capturing a night. Although captured one of 2, because you went to the one at the Showcase too, right, Dan?
Yeah. Yeah.
So how about that? It was 2 nights, but they only captured 1.
But photos from both nights are in the layout.
Yeah. Confusing, huh? What is your favorite comp of all time, Dan? Is it The Way It Is?
I think it has to be. I mean, I can enjoy every song, and I can absolutely love almost every song. So that, I think that's batting really high. But you know, Carry On Oi or like Oi the album are up there too. Obviously Flex Your Head, but I think I'm gonna drill down. It's gonna be The Way It Is.
What about the Punk and Disorderly comps? So those are 1982 UK. They both came out the same year. There was 2 in 82. I just put the first one, but I believe the first one came out in March and the second one came out in like October or something. They're both like just loaded with like classic bands.
Yeah, they really are. You know, but then you've got, you know, even there's just I feel like when you think about something, like the highs are all up here and then the lows are just tiny little dips on The Way It Is. And on those Punk and Disorderlies, there's maybe like 1 or 2 bands that bring it, just those dips go a little bit further down.
Yeah, I mean, The Way It Is the greatest, right? And you can ride for every song on the newer presses, Dan. You know? Pops, do you have like a favorite comp of all time, or do you not function that way of like, this is my favorite, my absolute?
I'm not a big favorite, dude, but I mean, The Way It Is the most influential one. Like it, other than like Boston, not LA, I got a copy of that. So that was like cheating. You know what I mean? Like someone just taped it for me. So as rad as it was, when I first got it, it was just like given to me by this older dude with like, who had 5th grade printing, you know, and like there wasn't anything like that exciting. Like it was rad, but I got The Way It Is. Like my friend, like one of my best friends when I was like in my early teens, his mom bought a record store that was failing. And it was like this is so fucked up. I'll tell the story anyways. It's like her lifelong dream to own a record store or whatever. So she bought this like a Tape World franchise or whatever. And my friend would just be like, oh, we can just go take whatever we want from my mom's store.
Fuck.
So, I mean, we took basically the hardcore section, you know what I mean? And like, that's probably, one would assume that's why the store didn't fare that well, because we had like taken like 300 tapes or whatever in the course of a month. But like, you know, but like, I remember like fighting with him, like, dude, I'm taking this one or whatever. And just that cassette specifically before I got the vinyl, just being like everything to me, you know? And also like being in a car, like driving around, and it just keeps going from song to song. Like it was, and like everyone knew, like everyone I would come across knew that record too, you know? Like I was like a very like, everyone had that tape, and it was almost like, oh, you have this? And like people would want to throw it in. So I don't know. That's that's the gold standard for me. As much as I like Flex Your Head, as much as I like, you know, all those like all the straight edge comps that came out in the late 90s, like all the 7-inch comps, Generation of Hope, all that stuff. Like it just doesn't, the Way It Is just so cohesive and packaged well and all that. And like, it's like I don't know, it's like an intro to a world. Like that's what it was for me. It was like an intro to, it was an intro to what I wanted to be a part of somehow. Yeah.
Do you know what's great about it too is that Rev like kind of did the tester with the Together, and then went full blown with the LP, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like the demo and then the record, right?
Yeah.
I always thought it was funny when people would be like, you know, you like The Way It Is or Where the Wild Things Are, like thinking like, oh, Where the Wild Things Are is like way dirtier, and like The Way It Is like somehow clean. It's like, dude, The Way It Is has like nausea on it and has fucking breakdown on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, come on, dude. You know, it's gnarly. Like it is like, it's not all one thing. It's not like homogenous at all. Like it's a pretty wild ride, and everything is like represented really well, and it rules. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, a lot of different tastes, you know, a lot of people with different tastes like listen to this podcast, like, so they're going to have different favorites, but like, I mean, this is overall probably my favorite too. Although, you know, what's close, dude, is that first Only the Strong 7-inch. And we're going to talk that in the next segment, but like of comps that I've listened to the most in my life, you know, it's either like Nardcore, or it's The Way It Is, or it's that first Only the Strong, you know,
or Punkorama.
or punk, yeah, for sure. When I was 16, like Punkorama and the Fat Music for Fat People and the first Hopeless sampler, you know.
Yeah.
So, dude, what's the new age 7-inch comp?
Oh, Words to Live By, Words to Die For.
I mail ordered that and taped it immediately, and like I've listened to that more than like a bunch of really good comps on this list for sure. I listened to that thing way fucking more. Like, yeah. Because it was of the time, you know what I mean? Like when you get something in real time, and like it doesn't even matter if it's rad, you know what I mean? Like it's the current thing, and like that record is like beaten into my brain.
Do you know one that is the same for me, that like when I got it, I listened to it for months without like giving other things, and that was For the Sake of Dedication, the Crucial Response comp. You know, it did have some American bands on it too, but I listened to that thing into the ground.
Is that how you honed your DJ skills, by like figuring out how to drop the needle past the first song? Because that's the most offensive thing about that comp. It's like, it's so good, but like the first song is like a 4-minute dragger. Like, ooh.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't know if he was like contractually obligated to have that song first or something, but it's like when you got that song sent to you, like just do a switcheroo, dude. Call the audible and put it last. You know what I mean? What are you fucking doing? You can't have your comp start out with like a shitty 4-minute song, dude. It's terrible.
And Zach, can we get a rant really quick about In Control not being on Memories of Tomorrow.
Oh, you got to rile me up, right? I mean, I think that like that is a good comp for the era when we're talking like it's basically documenting like I don't know, the very tail end of like the late 90s youth crew revival, like mixed with like the bandana thrash type scene and then like kind of what came out of it in the early 2000s, I guess. Like, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we should have been on it. You guys maybe should have been on it too, right? Or no?
We
Year
probably, by the
2000?
time it was being put together, we probably haven't put music out yet.
Okay.
By the time like the Youngblood dudes are putting it together, we probably haven't yet. But I just always know it's a sticking point with you.
I would have liked to be on it. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
I want to mention real quick on the New Age comp. That one's 91. Like it really does fit in on the next one's got to go. But before we go into that, how much do original tracks being on a comp matter? Because like I think that that's one of the things that makes that New Age comp so special and important is I think that all those are original tracks, which is kind of like a rarity. Like when we go into those 1990s the 1990 7-inch records, like there's a lot of reused tracks. And then if you go back to like the early 80s, like the early and mid 80s, like a lot of those comps that are considered like the greatest comps in the history of hardcore, like it's not exclusive tracks at all.
No,
Like
yeah, they're just pulled right off the LP.
or a lot of times like maybe they're before the LP comes out, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're just from the same year, but like I don't know. What do you think? How important is it to a comp to have exclusives? Because that is one of the things that makes like Flex Your Head like notable, right?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that makes those comps stand the test of time. And I think that's what makes the comps that are coming out nowadays, like we mentioned the Triple B thing earlier, like when those comps are put together, that they are exclusive. Because what's the point of checking it out if it's a bunch of album tracks from other things, like all just put in one place? I do think having like originals, or even if that song gets recorded later, like if it's like a different version, it's noticeably different, then that's kind of cool to hear the comp version versus the LP version, But I mean, definitely different recordings, but I think the original songs being on a comp really separate the wheat from the chaff of like which comps really have stood the test of time and are better. Because if it's a banger song from a banger band and that's the only place that you can lock it down, like that comp is already in the conversation then.
I mean, in modern times, the compilation is kind of obsolete in a way because like everyone can just make playlists on Spotify, right? So I almost think that like it's the opposite nowadays, and the modern comps would be better if it was someone just curating the greatest songs of like a 2-year period. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but
Like
if you got
I think that
if you got the best bands and they're like, this shit is not going on streaming, of course people can rip it to YouTube. But if the whole thing was like, this is where you get like these bangers and everyone's like going for it, that's a pretty sick selling point.
I agree, but there's no guarantee
No one's
like
gonna
the
do it,
songs
but
there's exactly there's no guarantee that like the song's gonna be a banger. And so that's kind of my point. Like I wonder if you had like a modern comp where it's like, whatever, these are the best hardcore songs of like the last year. Like that could actually be like a significant comp that could stand the test of time instead of like, oh, you got a bunch of like kind of also ran songs that like didn't make the record, because I mean, nowadays you're not always going to get money to go record, and you're definitely not getting money from like someone putting out a compilation to go record one song. You know what I mean? So like you have bands that are going and getting like a less well recorded song, or you're getting like the also ran songs that are like runoff from other records, generally. Don't you think?
yeah, but isn't that? I think that's a statement on the fact that like a compilation used to be like if you were the least good band, the least known band on the comp, and you're like, oh, we're going to be on a comp with Turning Point, like you're going to fucking bring it, in your head at least, right? Because that's like, now there's just so many modes of exposure that, like, I think that's like the biggest reason why it doesn't mean as much. You know what I mean? Like, unless people were like actually going to put their time into do some type of benefit or like something that like actually has a purpose, and then that changes it. But I think ultimately, like, a compilation is exposure, and there's just other ways of exposure that are more immediate, and that's why they lost relevance.
Yeah, I still think that, like, I'm more and more in the camp of, like, it being exclusive to a comp doesn't matter. I mean, like, let's think about it.
Hell no.
Well, we're talking about the way it is, right? And that all being like one of our favorite comps of all time. Like, how much of that is exclusive? It's like half.
It's got to be more, dude, because like some of those recordings are different too.
Yeah, but I'm talking the song, right? Like the song itself.
Yeah, but if it didn't exist at the time, it was exclusive when it happened. You know what I mean?
Okay. The Bold song was already out. The Warzone song was already out. The Gorilla Biscuit song was already out. The Breakdown song was already out. The Youth of the Day Together was this. That's the same song from the 7-inch, right?
I don't know.
I think so.
It's got Understand as well too, though.
Yeah, that's true. Understand, but the Sick of It All songs
the
were
only
already.
Place you can get Searching for the Light.
No, it was on the 7-inch.
Oh yeah, that's too. Right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, so like
different recording though.
Different recording and way better. It's like the one on the LP is way better, but still, like, I think that half the stuff on this is like has already come out, and like that kind of just again goes to my point. Like I just want the best songs. You know what I mean? Because that's what matters when you're looking back at something, is if it's great or not. And
true, and yeah, I feel like your first interaction with a lot of these things on the comp is giving you, you don't know that they're elsewhere yet for some of them because you're hearing them for the first time here, and then it leads you to go find that other record.
Yeah, and like I don't know if Cleanse the Bacteria came out first or if Walk Together, Rock Together came first. Like when you're looking at history, it's like you're looking at a year. It's hard enough to narrow down the year, let alone the month, right? So like, I mean, it's 2 of 7 Seconds' biggest songs start out like the Cleanse the Bacteria comp. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that takes away from the comp. It's like,
I mean, way it is like an expanded together though too. You know what I mean? I mean, whatever. I know what you're saying, but I think like it's almost like an outlier. Like for the most part, I want to get it because it has the thing that is exclusive. It just shows a level of like effort. You know what I mean? Like otherwise, it's like a band could just be like, yeah, we'll just be on every fucking comp. Here's our best song. Put it on here you go. Here's Use Your Head. Put it on everything in the world.
Yeah,
I'd buy them all.
All right, we are doing side A versus side B on the City Rockers compilation. It came out in 1982 on City Rocker Records. This is a Japanese compilation. Dan, are you going side A or side B?
Oh, it's a tough one, but I think I'm going to have to go side A.
All right, and Pops, how you landing on this one?
I didn't even know that shit had a side B.
That's right. Let's make this unanimous. I am side A. All right, let's do another just for fun. This time we are going to do side A versus side B versus side C versus side D on the International P.E.A.C.E. compilation. This record came out in 1984 on R Radical Records. It is one of the greatest hardcore punk compilations of all time. What do you think, Dan? Overall thoughts on this record before we dive in and choose a side?
This is taking what we've just discussed about comps being snapshots of time, thought, and idea, and ramping it up on steroids like crazy. This was put together by the MRR people, and it is at a time where nuclear war was, on everyone's front door, like it seemed. So this is something that, punk bands the world over were singing about. And guess what? We've got punk bands from the world over together in one comp. And there are some amazing songs here. and then there are some real stinkers too.
Was it the MRR people, or was it just the Dave Dichter, the MDC dude?
Oh, you're right. It's MDC, but I think with help of MRR, MRR put together the Encyclopedia Britannica layout that went with it.
Well, they did the Welcome to 1984 comp the same year, which is great and similar. So
yeah,
I didn't look at. I haven't looked at the booklet in a minute.
This thing's like incredible for seriously the sharing of thought, and the ability to realize that punk is a worldwide phenomenon. There's bands from all over. If I had to pick, do you want me to pick my side now, or do you guys want to talk about the comp a little bit more and then we all pick our sides?
Yeah, I want to talk the comp just a little bit more. Like, okay. I think that I went through and rated all the sides. Like going through rating songs. Like, oh, I give that a 10, I give that a 8 or whatever. That's the only way I could figure out how to do this, because it's just a ton of great shit and a lot of really good stuff and very little really bad stuff. Let me start with the bad. So like,
yeah, okay, because I
think
probably agree.
Okay, so you have some bigger name bands like Crass and Dead Kennedys, and like their songs are just fucking trash. So like I don't know how that worked out, but like the Crass song, like just them doing like an instrumental synth track, like at least they spared us and put it like the last song on like side A. Yeah. But like what the fuck? Like I don't know like if this was discussed before the song was submitted or what, but can you imagine you're putting together a comp and like you're like, oh, I'm gonna get a Crass track, like this is sick, and then this shows up, like what the fuck? And then the Dead Kennedy song is like, I mean, maybe their worst song. Like it's terrible, and like they have no sympathy for us on side C. The Boss Cops out of Germany got totally fucked, and they put their song last, which is like a really good mid-tempo track with like good guitar hooks and shit. And they put the Dead Kennedy song second to last on that. And so this is the Kinky Sex Makes the World Go Round song. It's on the DK comp, I believe. And it's just like a 4-minute filler track. It's fucking terrible.
Does that mean you've already signed side C to Roadside before the Boss Cops get a chance?
No, how can I sign it, dude? It's got Pops. Pops can sing the praises of the proletariat, right? Like that's on that.
I'm a huge proletariat fan.
Yeah, and then you got Cheetah Chrome motherfuckers. You got Septic Death. You got DRI.
Like, I'm joking. I'm joking.
No, I know.
The best part about that Dead Kennedy's track though is the person playing the Prime Minister constantly going, oh.
Well, here's the other thing that's terrible about it is it came out on a different compilation 2 years earlier. So like,
yeah, they were putting their best song on every comp.
Yeah. So, but like this comp is like pretty mind blowing, right? So it starts out with like the Articles of Faith song, which is like one of their best songs, and like just a perfect like 10 out of 10 80s hardcore song. Like dropping the needle and having that be the song that kicks it off is like, oh my God, man. Like I love the first Articles of Faith 7-inch, and I love this song. And then like kind of similar to the Effigies, like I like everything a little less and less as it goes along, right? Like I love the first thing, and then everything after is a little less and less. But like, can you imagine like going from that to like that Gizm song? Like, because this is when everyone heard Gizm in America the first time, I got to assume, right? Like, and so like just the juxtaposition of those two songs, like classic, almost tuneful American hardcore, and then going to like that complete psychopathic, like insane person music of like that Gizm song is crazy, right?
Just recording a leaf blower?
No, there's like a lot to that song. Like, I love that song.
No, of course. But you know what I mean? Crazy. It's like harsh.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, it was harsh in one way and like really tuneful in another way, right? Like the soloing is great. Like it's actually a great song. It's just like is a psychopath like wrote it, you know what I mean? And then coming out of that into that Neon Christ song, which is like, you know, of like the hardcore bands, like we have like the speeding up now, right? So it's like this is them going like full scissor beat. Like they're of that lane, like, you know, the Deep Wounds and the Sieges and stuff. Like Neon Christ is like a band pushing the speed forward in hardcore. And then, you know, coming out of that to like Kalishnikov, like we're going to Denmark, we're going international again. And like, you know, having female vocals and like a pretty like anarcho sounding song, like it's sick. It's just like they're really taking you for a ride, like out the gate. And this side A is just, it's untouchable until you get to that crash track. I don't know. What do you think, Pops? Overall thoughts?
The crash track doesn't bother me because it's like, if there's a band that's just gonna throw a curveball, it's fine. Like, would I preferred a better song? Sure, you know, like, but
yeah.
whatever. It's not like such. It's not like when I put this on, I had all these hopes and they're crushed. The thing about this comp to me is like, and I think it's something that probably would be, not that you'd want to replicate it, but again, it's like of the time, is that you're still in the period where it's hard to record, you know, like you're still going to like, for the most part, you're going to someone who doesn't understand the kind of music you're trying to record, you know, with certain exceptions. And then also because it's international, there's places that are like way behind in their technology and it's even more difficult, or maybe you're doing it yourself with like out of date equipment. And I think just the quality, like track to track, and like how you're just hit with like different recording styles all over the place, where like now I think things, you know, an international comp would be pretty samey, not in a bad way, just like recording quality is kind of uniform. I think that's really interesting too. Like that kind of hit me when I was re-listening to it. And I really do like that, because it takes me back to being a listener where you're probably not familiar with most of this stuff and you're just like, what's this going to sound like? And then it's like so fucking tinny and like high end and your ears are blown out. Then something's like muffled in a cool way, or like that like first time experience where you're just getting exposed to all this information, and it's kind of like you can't help but have like a very like visceral reaction to everything track by track, you know. Although this one, you're a real one if you listen to it all together, like all the way through multiple times. Like it's a lot of information to take in.
Yeah. So there's 13 different countries represented on this comp, although South Africa is a poem only, so I guess we should say 12. But one note I wanted to make on this is like Italy has 8 songs on here, and like they're represented very well. Like the Italian songs are all pretty stand out. When they come on, you're like, oh shit. You know, like the Declino track coming after the Afflicted track, the Wretched track coming after like the Unwarranted Trust track. Yeah, it's like that stuff stands out. And I wonder, because, you know, I think that people in America that get into like international hardcore, like Italian punk and hardcore is like held in very high regard. And I wonder if a lot of that comes off of this comp being like so canon and so like readily available for people that are like interested in international hardcore, you know, that they represent themselves so well on here. People are like, damn, I got to check out all those bands and then fall in love with them, you know?
I can say this being Italian, I think it has more to do with mob ties and payola or something, but I mean, those like Italian bands would tour the US when other bands weren't, which is fucking trippy to me. Like even in the 90s, what was dude, Stefano Milani
Product
was this. No, but there was Think Again or something like that.
Okay.
Like came to the US, so trippy. But yeah, I don't know. There's something there, and then later you have the Italian 7-inch. Like there's something strange happening.
I definitely saw Product.
Yeah, well, Raw Power went and recorded in Indiana
right.
for their 84 LP too. So like that's why, and they were on tour and they did a bunch of like those big LA shows as well. Yeah, this comp though is an example of what I was talking about. Like something being exclusive, I don't think is the most important thing. Almost all these songs were like released elsewhere, although, you know, probably not easy to get. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, did everyone have that Kalishnikov 7-inch? Probably not. You know what I'm saying? So like it is a sampler in that way of like something, and you can track it down. Dan, how you feeling? What side are you taking? Or is this too
Okay.
obvious that it starts like best and fades off?
No, it's difficult because if I was going to say what's my favorite songs on this comp, two of them are on side D.
Oh,
You
sick.
know,
Which are they? Let me. Can
uh, yeah,
Subhumans and
you can
Reagan
guess.
Youth. Subhumans,
Yeah,
Reagan Youth.
yeah. But I'll tell you what, that Butthole Surfers song is a disgrace. Also,
Yes.
just along with the Crass one.
Yeah. So of like I rated some songs 10s and some songs 1s, you know? And of
Yeah.
my 1s, there are 2 on that side D. It's Butthole Surfers, terrible song, and that the poem I gave a 1. So and then the Dead Kennedys I gave a 1, and let's see what else. And then the Crass song, and everything else was above that. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm going to say my favorite song on the whole thing is the Conflict song, which is on side C.
Yeah.
But and I also love that Upright Citizen song.
Yeah.
So good, and Mob 47's on that as well. I think I'm going to give it to side C. You've got Septic Death, you got Cheat Chrome Motherfuckers, you've got Proletariat and Conflict, and the Iconoclast song is good. Yeah, you've got, and then Boss Cops Save It after Dead Kennedys do a dirty phone call.
The Recovery. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going side C.
Interesting. Okay, Pops, what do you think?
I'm just going with side A. Like, I just want to mention, like, I don't know if it's because they're not like rare core, but Articles of Faith are, I would say, underrated. And just as you said, like the 1, 2, 3, like the 3 tracks in a row on this, or even just the whole run of the record, like it's hard to separate how, like, unless you're a total weirdo who plays side D first or something, like how you hear something the first time and all your expectations or whatever, and like having it fulfilled right away of like just the ride you're gonna go on. Like I just love side A. It's sick.
Yeah, that side A run up through the 6th song is pretty great because like that Unwarranted Trust song is pretty sorry. So they let Canada down. That's like the only. Well, that Local Disturbance song is pretty okay too. So yeah, Local Disturbance, Unwarranted Trust, those two back to back, and then that Crass song like really hurt side A.
I like that Local Disturbance song.
Really?
Yeah.
It's too long, too long and too repetitive. Like if they
well,
cut it in half,
ODFX bring it down for you. They give you the short, like how long's that? Like 19 seconds.
Yeah, that one rips. That one's super sick. And that's the shout out to Akron. I think they're on here a couple times. So, yeah, side A. So let's see. The average of side A, I got 7.1. And the average with no Crass song was 7.6. So I don't know which one you want to run with there, Dan. What you think is more fair?
Oh no, you have to keep the Crass song.
Okay, so that's
bringing it down.
Okay, so that's 7.1. So on the B side, a lot of 7s and 8s there. I gave 110, and that's to that Mob 47 song, which is great. It's the first song off their 7-inch. Totally classic. Gave that Upright Citizens an 8, that Offender song an 8, that Contra Zioni song an 8, the Los Violadores song an 8. So that averaged out to 6.7. And then side C, it averaged out to 6.8. Now, if I took off the DK song, it's a 7.2. But we got to keep it if we're keeping the Crass. So that's a 6.8. I gave that Iconoclast song a 9. What a great song, dude.
Yeah, so good.
Holy cow. And out of Silmar.
Did you not love the Conflict one?
I do. I gave it an 8. It's great.
Okay.
I think the intro is a little long, but like whatever. And then beyond that, it's like totally classic. And then the Cheetah Chrome Motherfucker song was great. Gave it an 8. I gave that Porno Patrol song an 8. That German band or West Berlin, Germany.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Proletariat, I gave a 7. It's good.
Wow.
It's good too, dude. Here's the thing. My ratings are pretty soft. Like if I give something a 5, it means I like it and would like to hear it again. You know what I mean? So like if you're getting a 7 through 10, it's like sick. I'm not grading this like I'm a fucking high school teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like a 5 is like good. So let's think about it more like baseball, you know. But and then side D is like very hit or miss, right? Like that Subhuman song is a 10, the Reagan Youth song is a 10. The Execute song is like disappointing because like they're one of the best Japanese bands of this era, but like they took a really good song off their 1983 7-inch and like submitted a live version of it, which is like that's a poor choice. You know, like so many other bands are just putting like their best song on, and it's like you're giving like a lesser version of like one of your best songs. Yeah, so this side got a 4.9, so the lowest. And if I took the poem out, it's still a 5.2, but like we got to go with the with the poem in, so it's a 4.9. So my ranking goes, I go A, C, B, and then D. So I'm a side A too.
Just one.
One's gotta go. What we are doing is we're putting 4 7-inch compilations against each other. They are all from the year 1990. So it's the Forever comp. It came out on Irate Records in 1990. It's the Murders Among Us that came out on Combined Effort and Vermiform Records. It's the Only the Strong 7-inch that came out on Victory Records. And it is the Rebuilding compilation that came out on Temperance Records. 4 7-inches, all from 1990. Dan, what do you think here overall? And what are you taking?
Overall, all 4 of them are incredible. I feel the only one that has got to go is just on the strength of one song only that is dragging it down out of all the others. The Forever comp. I mean, talk about a band that is putting like the bangers on comps. We've got Rebuilding and Forever here. Turning Point is delivering on both of these, you know?
Yep.
Like they are giving you their gold standard. Only the Strong got a brief mention earlier when you were talking about comps you loved. And the high points of Only the Strong are, I mean, there's not really a low point. There's great whisper core on here, which we love. The start of the, you know, and Integrity would then go on to do it forever. But, you know, the Mean Streak song and the, and Confront One Life Drug Free. Jesus Christ, what a song. The Murders Among Us, like the Combined Effort side, which has Life's Blood and Absolution on it, are just so good. Both those songs are so good. Then you flip the record, you get to the Vermiform side, or you know, that's kind of the way I look at it. And you've got an all-timer by Born Against. The Good Father is either this or Mary and Child are the best Born Against songs, both on comps, and just absolutely incredible. But the Nausea song lets down the side for me. It's a pretty decent song, but the duality of the vocals, like, it just isn't clicking compared to everything else on this. So, you know, against the Rebuilding comp, which has like just absolutely incredible songs and some of the best like kind of artwork, that I just love the mystery of that kind of like kids walking on or being on that hill with the like purpley cloud, like the way it's done. You know, Biscuit Power is incredible, but the No Escape song on this, amazing. The Turning Point song on this, amazing. The Burn song on this, pretty damn good. I'm gonna have to say the Murders Among Us is the one that's got to go, but it's really close because All the other three are all timers, and the Murders Among Us could really be, because, like I say, that Born Against song is that good. But I am going to lose Murders Among Us.
Well, I think it's a sexist pick, but that's just me. Yeah, so we should mention the Murders Among Us comp is the only one that has all exclusive tracks. So again, my point is being proven here. Dan ditching that one. Briefly on the rebuilding, it's interesting. So this was a benefit comp for an organization, an animal rights organization called Trans Species Unlimited. And like it's like bad timing on it, right? Because right after the comp, they changed their name to ARM, which is Animal Rights Mobilization, and then the organization disbanded in '92. So unfortunately, rebuilding didn't raise the money to keep this organization going. But it doesn't hurt it.
The $400 didn't keep them going.
That's right. Unfortunately, this one stays because Broken is like the turning point masterpiece, in my opinion. It's the best of their later era songs, and it's also the best Shelter song. So, Turning Point doing Shelter better than Shelter. And the Burn song Drowned is great, but it is like this is them doing like it's a sloppier version of like a song off the 7-inch. And probably if I'm rating the 7-inch, it's the fourth best song on it, although it's like one of my favorite 7-inches of all time. So fourth best on one of my favorite 7-inches, still pretty good. The GB song, this is again like I don't know if this came out on their demo from 87, but on this booklet it says it was recorded in 89. So they must just be re-recording a demo song. This song is whatever. And the No Escape song is really good. One of the best No Escape songs. So I don't know. On the power of the Turning Point song, it's got to stay. Only the Strongest Stain for sure. It's one of the greatest comps of all time. For my taste, like it's just 6 out of 6. Like side B obviously is booing the whole thing. Like the Confront Mean Streak integrity back to back is like it's out of this world. It's one of the greatest sides in the history of 7-inches. But side A, like it doesn't get bodied. Like I like parts of the Life Cycle song. The Face Value song is a good straightforward hardcore song, although I wish the fast beat was better. And the Insight song is like easily the best Insight song, you know what I mean? So that's pretty good too. So those two are safe, and let me think on the other two as Pops talks. What do you think, Pops?
It's pretty easy for me just because like if I went to like which one of these did I listen to the least, which one of these has a bulldog on it, that's my answer. Like it's just like the side B is so much stronger than side A, and like again, like not I mean these are all classic records, and I don't if like I don't know if there's someone named Billy in Life Cycle listening, but I don't want to offend him, but the side A is the weaker side by a lot, you know?
That's true.
And then when I like all these other ones, granted they're 4 songs instead of 6 or whatever, they're just I mean I couldn't get rid of Murders for the Absolution song alone. Like that thing just pummeling, just another underrated band that like never got their vinyl due. Like I gotta go. I gotta just let the dog. I gotta put the dog down.
Well, there's a dog on that one too.
Yeah, but it's a cuter dog, dude.
True.
It's a dog that's making me like, what do you need, bud? Like you need to go for a walk. The other dog's confrontational, so I'm going with the least. And I fucking hate the I hate the T-shirt on the back of the Only the Strong comp. The fucking shitty, and I went to an NHL game T-shirt. That thing sucks.
Well, you're gonna have to borrow Bobby the Brain Heenan's suit because we're sending Matilda after you for all this bulldog, all this bulldog hatred.
Yeah. Dan thought that
it's just one bulldog, dude. I only hate one bulldog, dude, and it's staring at me right now in yellow and red. I hate it.
A single bulldog. Yeah, that's fair, dude. I feel you. I'm torn because there's a handful of the Victory records that I love, but like it's very strange talking about that now in modern times. Like literally no one will get or understand like the stain of the bulldog. You know what I mean? Like because everything is just like meshed
All the
together
long
now.
sleeves where it repeated like 15 bulldogs down your sleeve.
Dude. You know, the one long sleeve you should never wear under a bigger t-shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All right. The Murders Among Us is obviously like the one that I spent the least amount of time with. Like, I don't know. The Born Against, I never loved Born Against. I don't know why you love them so much, Dan. If I'm being honest here, maybe it's just like you were into punk for like 3 years longer than me. You know, and so like that's why you like them. It's a pretty good like mid-tempo song, but like the solos like fucking shitty. And so like I don't know, I'm a guy that loves guitar solos and like but if you're going to do one, like do one, put a little effort into it. Like a shitty guitar solo is just fucking trash. You know what I mean? I do like the Nausea song and Absolution. That song is great. One of their best songs, probably their second best song, you know? I don't know. Forever is fucking great, dude. You know, it's got an exclusive Turning Point song. You know, it's got an exclusive like Burn song, like from their prime. That Rorschach song, it's on Remain Sedate. And this recording is not great, but dude, the Checkmate into the Mosh, so good. You know what I mean? And I don't know.
And Mary and Child, the Born Again song, unbelievable on this comp.
Yeah, that one's okay. That's also on the 1991 LP, so I get my fix of that song on that. And thanks for proving my point again, Dan. another exclusive song for the win, right? The Citizens Arrest song is pretty wild on here too, right? It's like I don't ever think of Citizens Arrest as like being like a power violency type band, but like this song is pretty power violency if you think about like the way that they bounce between the tempos. It's like it's gnarlier than like the 7-inch, and I love the 7-inch. It's one of my favorite hardcore 7-inches, and I don't know if this song is totally representative of the band, but it's like it's super sick in its own way. So I think I got to be a poser, dude, and lose Murders Among Us. But this was close, and that hurts because like even though I'm the dude arguing for exclusive tracks not mattering on comps, like we got to be honest, and like you do get bonus points for having exclusive tracks, and so for them to do the 7-inch with all exclusive is pretty sick. But it's the one I'm losing. The other thing I just want to touch on before we get out of here is that New Age comp. That was 1991, but like that would have been a one to really fit in here well, you know. So I don't know. Like looking at the eras of the comps, like it is interesting. Like I wonder what happened around the year 1990 that like made so many hardcore 7-inch compilations come out. Like, do you think that the price of the 7-inch dipped or something? What do you think it is, Pops?
I think there was more zines and like a lot of comps came out of zines, and
Yeah,
there's just like you're at the beginning of like another wave, so there's a glut of bands, you know, and like the comp was still the tool to get things out there, you know what I mean? So it just feels like my impression was like a comp was always like super low risk because there's not a lot of pressure on the person putting it out. Like, where's my fucking $8 royalty check? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's kind of like an implied thing that like you're just doing this thing to help out a homie. And I think it's just like a easier barrier to entry or something like that, you know?
I also think that being the time period it is, there was a lot of like washing up going on at the time, and the people that are down for it from 1990 to like 95 are the people that are definitely very rooted in DIY and doing things themselves and getting a lot of these things out. Is, you know, kind of labor of love, and they're, you know, just like Pop said, some people were doing zines and stuff like that. It was a way of like contributing to hardcore without having to be in a band, you know.
Yeah, but why?
Way
But
to
why
do things
this
in the scene?
But why this format exclusively? Why not a cassette? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, probably because most people bought records at the time.
Cooler layout too.
Yeah,
It is. I think the layout plays into it, right? Because like,
definitely.
I mean, everyone had a tape player at this time, you know.
Yes,
and
yes,
and
but
we had tape players in cars.
for sure. But I'm saying like when people were coming through and selling things, they were selling a record usually at a merch table rather than their tape.
The fight lasts for hours, each ram battering the other dozens of times.
Head to head.
All right, let's go head to head. We are putting two compilations up against each other. First off, we got the Sweet Vision comp from 2004. It came out on Lockin' Out Records. It's going up against controversial album title, Mein Comp. Came out in 2003 on Youth Attack. What do you think, Dan? Put these two head to head. What do you like more?
Well, what's great about Mein Kampf is it's all about the, George W. Bush's Gulf War, and there is reworked samples of him speaking, but they flip the words around and stuff throughout the compilation, and it's pretty great. You've got some absolute killer bands on this: Knife Fight, Limp Wrist, Tear It Up, Reagan SS, Last in Line, and then of course John Brown's Army doing the Ghetto Revival, Hallelujah, Holla Back.
Jesus.
What? You're not a fan of John Brown?
Was it King of the Birds? What was he?
Wait, can I say something
King of the
about
Burbs.
John Brown?
Yes.
Okay, King of the Burbs. I think it was like some birthday I had. I don't know if it was significant or not, but my roommate knew I was obsessed with that show. Also, fun fact, I don't know how many people know this, but the Roach on White Rapper Show was played by none other than Chaka Harris from Burn.
Are you fucking kidding?
Wow.
Yeah, that's real. Yeah, that's fucking real.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
And so my roommate emailed John Brown and tried to have him perform at my birthday, and he would not. He said, he offered him $500, and he said, add a zero, bro. I don't leave a house for under $5,000. So John Brown, the King of the Burbs, did not perform Car Wars at my birthday.
I think that he might run Nas's record label now.
Mm-hmm.
It's something like that. Okay, so Dan, what do you think about the Lockin' Out one?
The Lockin' Out one is absolutely great. Opens with Iron Mind by Righteous Jams. The SOS song is, it's okay. It's decent. The Say No More song, decent too. The Get Real. So Righteous Jams is killing it. But when you flip the record, it gets great. You've got that Wrong Side song. I swear to God, like that is the Enter Sandman like mosh like for the ages. Like that song absolutely rips. And then Get a Life by Mental is one of their very best. It's actually tough because I think Mein Comp as an entire compilation flows better and has like the kind of like the more steady like journey through the whole thing. But I mean, Righteous Jams, Wrong Side and Mental, and Get Real, that Get Real song is good too. I don't know why I low ranked it a minute ago. The Jaguar song is all right.
Wait, can we talk about the ending of that song where it turns into like prog rock or something? It's fucking insane.
Yes.
It's not really a mosh part. It's like twitchy. I don't know what it is.
I know, but that like pause like into it, like I don't know, I love it. But the Wrong Side song just steals the whole thing for me. I'm going Sweet Vision, slightly ahead of Mein Comp.
Yeah, I put these two head to head because like coming out of the late 90s Youth Crew stuff, like these are two distinct lanes that broke out, right? Like you have the Locking Out stuff, and then you have like this faster stuff that's going on. Which would be like represented on the Mein Comp, the Youth Attack stuff, and later it would be like the No Way stuff and the Sorry State stuff and all that, right? So I think overall the Mein Comp is like a more cohesive comp and maybe like an overall better comp, where the Sweet Vision comp is more of like a sampler platter, but do think that. Actually, I'm going to shoot you, Pops, and keep thinking. What do you think, Pops?
Well, let's start with aesthetics. I fucking hate the fucking ice cream packaging shitty font on Sweet Vision that like Locking Out Records is in. It's like really offensive. But I think this is a really good pairing because like one is literally an entire comp about how much the world sucks, and the other one's called like Sweet Vision. And like with the except, no disrespect to Rich Peruzzi of Jaguars, but like the Sweet Vision comp is almost like proto manosphere shit. Like I'm not really. It's very like alpha and fucking. I know a lot of these dudes are like tech dudes who probably have a lot of money in crypto. I don't enjoy it. That's all I got to say. I mean, there's tunes that are cool, but I just don't. It's not like a vibe I'm into. Whereas like I think as a comp, like building off everything I've said about like what makes a great comp, and like there's a purpose. People are bringing their A game. It's very cohesive. There's some, stuff going on in the layout that, going back and reading it, some of it's a little whoa, but it's of the time. And then also, I guess of note, each comp has a song with a reference to a movie. However, only one comp has two bands with Fight in the name and two songs with Bush in the name, which is a formula for great comp. So I'm going with that one. I'm going with the MC comp.
Yeah, mine comp. I think that the covers, the album covers on both leave a lot to be desired. If we're doing that, so it's kind of a wash.
I don't know, man, dude. The Sweet Vision thing looks like it looks like a fucking supplement package or something for like electrolytes. It's bad, dude.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great.
It's
so the big one in the win column is the Wrong Side songs. Feeding Time at the Zoo into Hangman's Noose, two of their greatest moments, and Live the Gimmick. I want to go this way because exclusive tracks don't matter for a good comp. You know what I'm saying? but the Mind comp is cohesive. They fit so much on here, and it doesn't feel like filler. It's a great comp, representative of a scene, representative of an idea, representative of like a time period. Now negatives, it does have a Reagan SS song, and that singer gave In Control a bad review in some fanzine. So not cool, bro.
Fuck them.
Yeah. So like, and I'm down. I don't think you need to like my bands, and in fact I don't even think that all my records have been good, except for all the Retaliate records are great, but he was like, oh, In Control, like they're not thrashy like the Mystic stuff, like the Flower Leopards, and it's like, what the fuck, dude?
Oh, it's that guy.
Like yeah, it's like, what, we don't sound like a fucking goth band? Like, you got your bands mixed up. Like, you're trying to fucking slag us, and like you say that we're not thrashy like a band that's not thrashy. Like, that's some fucking straight nerd shit. So on principles alone, I gotta go Sweet Vision. Dude, good episode. Compilations are sick. I do want to circle back a little bit to the list. We didn't spend a ton of time on it. You guys can all check it out on the Substack, and I'll try to wedge it into a tiny Instagram graphic so you guys can all see it. Dan, you want to roast me? What should have been on here that's not on here? What is on here that shouldn't be on here? That kind of shit.
Do you know what's funny? One thing that I noticed, like, there's plenty of these comps. How many of these comps have been like bargain bin like records over the years? Like, I can't count the amount of times that I've ever walked in a record store and like, seen Not So Quiet on the Western Front, or Hell Comes in a bargain bin. Like, that's so like those records, like, you just see them all the time
in the LP bin.
Yeah, like in a cheap bin, used, like, priced low. Nowadays it's different, but I'm just saying, all through the 90s and 2000s, like, lots of these were I think this list is quite strong. I'm glad you didn't, try and cool guy it. And, well, actually, I mean, there are a few things on here that are maybe a little bit like that, but
like what?
Like,
Make me
I don't
defend it,
know.
dude.
No, I can't. It's quite good, to be honest. Like every single one that I stop on to try and go, okay, here we go. I mean, this is one that's a bit of a, well, actually, kind of person's choice. The Raw War comp, but that that probably has its merits like crazy,
Well,
Does the
so let me put I'll tell you the reason why I put it. Like, that's a very international comp, right? So, like, it's
yeah.
a cassette comp, so like it's knocked a little bit there, right? Because like I'm generally leaning LP, but like you have you have the Neos, that's Canadian. You have Turvi Cadet and Radis, that's Finnish. You have Olho Seco, that's Brazilian. You have Indigesti, that's Italian. You have Funeral Oration, that's from the Netherlands. Like
Oh,
that's a
we know you love that.
that's a pretty insane international comp for 1983.
Oh, for sure. My whole point is it's that kind of person though. Like if you didn't have that comp on, you would have got a well, where the hell is
Oh, you think that I put that on just
in,
for that person?
no. I'm just saying that's the kind of thing that an international hardcore lover would come for you for in the comments. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think that all that stuff was represented by Welcome to 1984 and the Peace Comp. So maybe it was unnecessary, but the reason why I included it was because it was a year before those. And then also it came out of the UK. So that's a little different. Like, because if you think about Peace and Welcome to 1984, they are both coming out of America. And I think they're both coming out of San Francisco, right? Because MDC had already moved to San Francisco by 84, I think. So
Yeah.
so yeah, that's all. Just like show that like people were loving international hardcore all over. I thought that was like why it's important. So choose another one, Dan. Roast me and I'll defend it.
No, I can't really roast you because these are all good. Like
Yeah,
everything on here I would be happy to have, to be
yeah,
honest, like for real. There's some of my personal favorites that aren't on here, and I can understand why they wouldn't be for lots of other people. But like I love that guilty by association Indecision Records comp because of the time period it was, and that's when lots of people first got to hear Redemption 87 and the amazing song About Face. That really just took everyone by storm when they heard that one. They were like, oh my God. Here's one on your thing that
well,
I
let
own.
me defend
Okay.
that though, real
Yeah.
quick. So obviously I wanted to have it on there. It's Indecision 1985, Dave's first full length, right? But like I just don't like most of it. You know what I mean? Like I love the Collateral Damage song. I love the Redemption 87 song and Shout Out, not exclusive, right? But I don't know. Like I don't, maybe it's representative of a time and a scene, but like what it's doing is it's showing like the, I don't know, like the emo-y alt rocky stuff mixed with like the straight hardcore stuff, but like I don't know if it needed to be on there when you have Antimatter and then also what's the other one that had like the Floor Punch song on it from that era. It's like it's kind of similar to the Antimatter comp, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think what they both do really well is that they show that the 1990s, or especially the mid 90s, all of these bands that sounded completely different were playing with each other often. So to say like it's a scene, it really was a scene. Whereas now you'd be like, oh, these are just a bunch of bands that, that don't sound like each other.
Yeah, I was thinking the Tie That Binds is the other one, like Antimatter and the Tie That Binds kind of like represent that idea. But you're right. I mean, that should have been on there. It was right outside the box, and so Dave, forgive me.
Yeah.
My bad.
No, but I think this is a really great list, and it'll be something for a lot of people to dive into, like especially the fact that you have it in chronological order, which is great because if you love a bunch of stuff and you're like, whoa, what's this one from 83 I've not heard, like Our Blowout or something, like giving that little San Diego representation.
Yeah, I did that because like you started getting like those scene comps, and like that's an interesting one, right? Like San Diego had one, Boston had one, like
Yeah.
it's important. And the master tape, like the Midwest had one, so yeah. Pops, what do you think? You want to roast me on anything?
I mean, you didn't put the most important cover comp ever done, Land of Greed, World of Need, where people took on the Herculean task of making the Embrace record even better.
I liked it at the time, though.
God, that thing's fucking brutal, man. No niche Boston comps on here, right? Like those 90s ones with like Converge and Dive and all that. Oh well.
Yeah. I don't that stuff kind of like got summed into the 90s stuff. I went like the harder way, right? Like I put like The Harder They Come and like New York's Hardest, like a couple of those to represent that.
It's fine. East Coast Assault. No,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a great list, I was just thinking of like what do I own that's not on here? It's a random one on Placebo Records. This is Phoenix, not the Circle Jerks.
Mm-hmm.
Like Mighty Sphincter, Conflict, JFA. And the only reason that one's noteworthy is that's the first time I heard Sun City Girls. And that's just a weird, like another like really random scene comp. I think I bought that thing for $2. Like that was another thing. Like compilations used to be almost like consolation prize when you're going through all the records and you just end up at various artists like, oh, this is kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, it's a great list. Like, I don't know a ton of these like, Euro comps or whatever. Like, so I'll probably end up checking out a bunch of stuff. And, and the progression of it is funny because, it is true. Once you get to like CD sampler era, things kind of do feel a little less special. Maybe like 78 Victory style with the fucking cartoon mosh, it really just starts to go off cliff. I don't know.
Yeah. I that's something that I struggled with. So, because even from like the year 2000 to 2025, so like 25-ish years, like there's only 15. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is insane because like we're documenting about close to 50 years, and it's like the second half of that is only represented with 15%. So like that's pretty insane.
Yeah, but that's when the internet pops off. Like it's
that's
just
true.
I think like as a cultural study, like it is interesting. Like the CD starts to dilute it, and then the internet and like file sharing, and then it's just kind of a wrap, and then but I think like the stuff, even though there's less, like all those things are really good. Like even the head to head we did, they're both really good comps. It's just had to pick one.
Yeah, by the time the 2010s roll around and you start to have like the triple B comps, like the America's Hardcore comps, and then also like the flat spot ones, the Exterminations, like they kind of, those two labels just kind of like dominate like that lane of hardcore, and they're all like, they're pretty hit or miss, dude, in my opinion. Like again, they're representative of a time, but also like, I don't know, hardcore, like if you look at it like in the early 80s, late 80s, the early 90s, like it's all like it's creating a new thing, right? And then like by the late 90s it's getting like reductive, and then the 2000s like reductive of reductive, and like obviously bands are still good, and I care about bands and still love hardcore and current music, but like I don't know, it's like it's not like stuff has to be on here to like document like a change in the sound. Like the sound of hardcore hasn't really progressed a lot in the last 15 years, 20 years. And that's not for better or worse, because like a lot of times when bands are progressing, like they're progressing to something that's already established and not hardcore. Like turning into like an alternative band is not progression. That's just turning into something else. Like that's not pushing hardcore in a direction. Like you're not hardcore anymore. You're playing a different style of music that's more established than hardcore. You know what I mean? So like, I think that maybe hardcore, not like, maybe it's like reached its zenith or whatever. Like there's no need to necessarily like document like an era. Like what's the difference between like 2013 and 2019? There's not too much of a difference. Like some bands are up, some bands are down, but like really it's just like this same group of band. Like some are a little more melodic, some are a little heavier, whatever, but like it's all kind of the same. Like the 2010s, like
I think that's a huge part of it. But my final thought is also, as you get into like sustainable core, like post pro core is like sustainable core, right? Where it's like It's no longer like 20 procore bands. Like almost everything's like like fest, just like it's just more sustainable, right? Like I think the true spirit of a compilation, like why they existed, is like lifting up your scene, right? Making a mark. They're either like a marketing tool where like the label's just trying to give you a bunch of shit and then you order all the individual records, or you're like documenting what's happening. And I think because like you don't need another band. Like if you're just the best band from Madison, Wisconsin, who gives a shit that there's 4 other bands that you could be on a 7-inch with?
Yeah.
Like you're just looking at your fucking metrics, right? And like there's this whole other system where like I think it made the what a compilation is, which is really just making you pay attention to something. Like we don't have attention spans anymore, so what's the point? You know, it's like there's no. It's almost like every. I mean, I don't know. Like in the past 10 years, like it's almost hard to say like there's like this landmark scene that happened. It feels like more like little moments. You know, I could be totally wrong, but it's not like, oh, everything's popping in Chicago right now. Like it's more like this is kind of cool for a second, then something else happens and something else happens. And maybe that's like the speed at which we're at is like a compilation that takes a while to get together. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, you served up something nicely, Pops, because there have been a couple, right? In like the last, so the Bay popping off out of COVID and all those bands blowing up, like that's a real example of one. And so I did put the Real Bay Shit LP on here. They came out this year, and it's represented a little late, right? So like if I was gonna say like although it's still huge, but like the zeitgeist of that stuff would have been 2021, 2022, right? And so here's a comp for 2025, but still they documented it, and none of those bands have broken up because bands don't really break up anymore. You know, like kind of going to what you're saying, like a scene doesn't matter as much now because like bands are kind of trying to reach a level of popularity where they can just hit like the festival circuit, right?
Yeah, and that like Bay bands have a thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's not those regional identities anymore based on the fact that you have access to everything all the time.
Right.
You know, like if you were if your favorite band was you know, whatever, AF in 1985, like it would be hard to replicate. It's hard to replicate AF. Like you're not going to find people like those people. You don't have the songwriting chops. And now it's kind of like you can figure out all the things to replicate what you want pretty quickly. So to have something that has an identity like the Bay, like I think that's why it popped off, because it's like, here's an identity. Like you can, it's a brand, you can latch onto it, you know, which is cool.
Yeah. And the other one right before it, like the Pittsburgh stuff that's popped off, like, you know, of like the faster, more raw, hardcore punk, like kind of a throwback to like the early 80s. Like that's an area that like is pretty notorious for it right now, and a scene that's popping, you know. And so like that stuff is represented pretty well on that comp, and that's why I put it on as well. So yeah, you're right. Like, I mean, obviously just everything is more national now and not regionalized. And so that does like, that knocks out like the purpose of like a lot of those early comps, you know what I'm saying? So final thoughts, Dan.
Just going off of what you guys are saying, I feel like a lot of the stuff that's in the early 80s, you could have a comp of a bunch of bands that want to sound like that and pull it off, but you couldn't have a comp of bands doing like some of that mid-90s stuff. It just, I don't think it is capturable as well, because it is a weird thing. So I think those comps are really the real testament to the way things were in a down era, which is really interesting to go back and visit. I really liked talking about all of these compilations, and I think this list is really good, and thanks for putting all that effort into doing it, Zach, because this is pretty rad. I think this is a underserved area, but a very important thing that has been a building block of a lot of people's expansion of their knowledge and interest and love for punk and hardcore.
I'm disappointed that neither of you guys roasted me for putting my own comp on here, you know? So, because I resisted the urge. I didn't put Intense Energy because it definitely doesn't belong.
What? Both might have bodies on that.
That's true. So maybe it does belong on that. But what the Fields of Fire track, dude? That's what it's about, right? The best Fields of Fire song, the best Overmated Body song, and the best Die Hard Youth song, all on the same comp. What are you gonna do? And I didn't put the Nardcore for Life on here either, which I had a big hand in. That's 2020, and that's like a regional scene, just because it was hard to fit everything into 100. But I did put the 185 miles south of somewhere comp on here, just because there's just not that much in the last like handful of years, and like we did make a pretty serious effort to like, you know, get different bands out of different countries. And so I think that comp is like, I don't know, 20 songs, 20 bands, 20 countries, something like that. So like, that's just kind of a throwback to, you know, what we're talking about with like the Peace comp or the Welcome to 1984 comp and like those early 80s international comps. Like that's what I was trying to like replicate on a much smaller scale, of course, but everyone should check that out.
That's why we didn't roast you, because you're being so modest, only putting one of your comps on there.
True.
That's right.
On a list with Flex Your Head, of course.
That's true. Yeah. Pop's final thoughts.
No, I just think my hope is that maybe this episode reframes like how people think about comps, and I would recommend, just like in the same spirit of like me getting that Puss Head, you know, top 100 of the 80s and digging into all this stuff I didn't know. Like all this stuff, you can find it pretty easily. So if you're not familiar, like dig in, and there might be some cool doors that get opened.
Yeah, and just a disclaimer, I'm not vouching for victory style, people. It's just important to the story of 90s hardcore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Dan,
every person had it. Everyone had it.
Yeah. I mean, the $4 compilation in a time where like, you know, you were buying CDs and like you could get a bunk CD. We do have to say like it was sick before it got like fully flooded. You know what I'm saying? Okay, Dan, where can the people find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Southpaw Instagrammer, and you can find me DJing at the Whistle Stop every third Friday, fucking in the bushes.
Pops, where can the people find you?
Anthony_Papa with 2 P's on Instagram, and watching Camping with Steve on YouTube.
That's right. Everyone, get at me, 185 miles south at gmail.com. Do not DM me. That sucks. Also, we're on Substack. We got the website, 185 miles south. We're on all the socials, 185 miles south. Everyone, we love you all. We'll talk to you again next Monday on Patreon.